Let's talk about that monthly Azure bill. You know the feeling, right? It can cause some serious anxiety. You see that number, you know it's high, but trying to figure out why and what to even do about it, well, it can feel like a huge task. But it doesn't have to be. In this explainer, we are going to break down a really clear, actionable framework to get those costs right back under control.
Sound familiar? You started with a budget, but somehow, month after month, the costs just creep up and up. It's honestly one of the biggest challenges for businesses in the cloud. But here's the good news. A huge chunk of that spending isn't just high, it's completely, totally unnecessary. Take a look at this number, 35%. Studies show that a staggering 35% of all cloud spending is effectively just wasted. That's more than a third of your budget, just poof, vanishing into thin air. So what is this waste exactly? Well, it's paying for virtual machines that are just sitting there, completely idle. It's over-provisioning, paying for a V8 engine when you really only need a scooter. And it's just general inefficiency. The key thing to remember is, this isn't about sacrificing performance. Not at all. It's about getting rid of the waste so you can maximize the value you're getting from Azure. So, here's our game plan. We've just touched on the 35% problem. Next up, we're going to get into your Azure Cost Toolkit. Then we'll hit the quick wins you can do today, followed by the bigger strategic bets. And we'll wrap it all up with the FinOps and SLA mindset you've got to have to make these savings actually stick. All right, first things first, your toolkit. See, before you can optimize costs, you have to be able to predict them. This isn't about reacting to a bill that's already too high. It's about being proactive before you even deploy a single thing. And lucky for us, Microsoft gives you two fantastic and totally free tools to do exactly that. On the one hand, you've got the Pricing Calculator. This is your go-to for figuring out future costs. Just think of it like an Azure shopping cart. You can add services, you can take them away, and see the price before you commit. Then there's the Total Cost of Ownership, or TCO calculator. This one's amazing if you're thinking about moving to the cloud. It helps you build that business case by directly comparing your current on-premise costs to what you'd actually spend on Azure. And this table here gives you a little sneak peek of just how massive these savings can get. We are not talking about a few percentage points here and there. I mean, look at this. These strategies can save you anywhere from 30% all the way up to an incredible 90% on certain workloads. All right, let's get into the good stuff. The changes you can make right now to see an immediate drop in your very next bill. This is the low-hanging fruit, the quick wins that are going to build some serious momentum. The fastest way to save money is actually pretty simple. Stop paying for things you don't use. It's a basic three-step process. First, you use the free Azure Advisor to identify any idle resources, like VMs that are just sitting around or unattached storage disks. Second, you automate shutdowns, especially for non-production environments. Your dev and test servers probably don't need to run 24/7, right? And third, be brave and delete what you don't need. The next quick win is rate sizing. It's so common to over-provision resources just in case. But you can use Azure Monitor to see the actual CPU and memory usage of your machines. If a VM is consistently using only, say, 20% of its power, you're just throwing money away. Downsizing it from a beefy D8s to a more reasonable D4S can slash costs without touching performance. And the impact is just huge. Just these two simple things, shutting down what's idle and right-sizing what's not, can immediately cut 20 to 40% right off your compute and storage bill. Okay, so the quick wins are in the bank. Awesome. Now it's time to level up. To unlock the really big discounts that Azure offers, you have to move from these tactical fixes to more strategic commitments. Yeah, they take a bit more planning, but trust me, the payoff is enormous. This slide really shows the fundamental trade-off in cloud pricing. Pay-as-you-go gives you all the flexibility in the world, but you're paying a premium for it. Now, for your stable, predictable workloads, the ones that run 24/7, like domain controllers or critical databases, you can commit to a 1 or 3 year reserved instance and save up to 72%. It's a no-brainer. And reserved instances? That's just the beginning. I mean, look at these numbers. The Azure Hybrid benefit can save you up to 85% on licensing. Spot VMs, which basically use Azure's spare capacity for non-critical jobs, offer these insane discounts of up to 90%. And modernizing your apps to use PaaS or serverless can cut costs by 50 to 70%. Let's just double-click on that hybrid benefit because this one is huge. If your company already owns Windows Server or SQL Server licenses with software assurance, you do not have to pay for them again in the cloud. You can bring those licenses with you to Azure, and that can knock your costs down by up to 85%. It's a big one. So we've covered the tech and the tactics. But to make these savings actually stick around, you have to change your organization's culture. This is all about moving from those one-time fixes to continuous governance and a real shared sense of ownership.
This is where the whole idea of FinOps comes in. And look, FinOps isn't a tool, it's not a specific team, it's a cultural practice. It's about breaking down those silos and getting finance, IT, and business leaders all speaking the same language and all taking shared responsibility for that cloud spend, tying it directly to business value. So how do you actually build this culture? Well, you start by using Azure Cost Management to set budgets and alerts. You start doing regular cost reviews. And most important of all, you apply tags to every single resource. Tagging is what lets you allocate costs back to the specific department or project using them. It creates transparency, it creates accountability, it's everything. I love this quote from a seasoned Azure user online. It just perfectly captures the spirit of FinOps. The central cloud team, they provide the platform and the guardrails, but the responsibility for managing the cost of a solution, that lies with the person who owns that solution. Now, we've been focused a lot on cost, but, the cheapest option isn't always the best one. The other side of this whole value equation is reliability. How do you know you're getting the uptime and performance you're paying for? Well, that's where service level agreements, or SLAs, come into play. These SLA percentages, 3 nines, 4 nines, they can feel a little abstract. What does 99.9% uptime actually mean in the real world? This table makes it super clear. An SLA of 99.9% allows for about 43 minutes of downtime in a month. If you bump that up to 99.95%, the acceptable downtime drops to 22 minutes. And at 99.99%, you're looking at just 4.5 minutes of potential downtime a month. Understanding this helps you pick the right service tier for how critical your workload is. And this isn't just some empty promise. It's a commitment that has a penalty attached. If Microsoft fails to meet its published SLA for a service, you are entitled to get money back in the form of service credits on your next bill. They're literally putting their money where their mouth is. So, we've covered a lot of ground, from quick wins like shutting down idle VMs to those big strategic bets like reserved instances, and all the way to a cultural shift with FinOps. You now have the complete framework to take back control of your Azure spending. The only question left is, where are you going to start? Which one of these strategies will you put into action first?